All right. Thank you so much. And let's move on to our second presentation. Our second presenter is Michael Clark. He is a 3-year veteran of the BYCC, and he's from Millinocket. So take it away, Mike.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, can you see my screen there? Hello?
Yep.
We see your screen.
We're seeing you're fine.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. So everyone can hear me okay?
Yep.
Coming through fine.
You're loud and clear.
Okay. So, hi, nice to meet everybody. My name is Michael Clark. As like Aaron said, I'm a 3-year member of the BYCC crew, and I live here in Millinocket, Maine. And my project's going to be over what we do as trail crew. You know, a lot of people have a lot of questions about what exactly we do in the park and what work we give back to them. And there's plenty of stuff to do, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, just diving back on me, I'm Mike Clark from Millinocket, and I'm a huge hiking enthusiast. I've gone to the park pretty much my entire life. I've done several hikes, several mountains, and it's just a beautiful place to work, and it's a great opportunity to be able to work with the BYCC and to be able to get out in the outdoors and enjoy the park that's right in my backyard. So to get right into it, so Baxter State Park is home to over 200 miles of trail for visitors to come and enjoy. There are thousands of people that come to the park yearly, and we have to do the best we can to maintain these trails so people can continue to enjoy them throughout the course of, time. So here's a park map to show, just how big the park is, and there's a lot of time and planning and stuff that goes into doing work in the park. There's several trails that all get grown up very quickly, and it's our job to go and maintain them so they don't get out of hand. So what kind of work do we do? So the main 3 types of work that we do in the park is bridging, corridor work, and rock work. So we'll go and start with corridor first. What we do with corridor is basically the basic simple things for the trail. We gotta be able to walk them and not, walk through trees and have to, make it, you don't want to walk through bushes and stuff like that. So what we do is we go in, we clear out trees and brush that's in the way for people to go through. So as you see on the picture on the left, there's blowdowns that occur all the time on the trail. So the big thing that we do is we go in, we cut out these sections of trees so people can continue to walk through. And when we're doing trail, as you see in the picture on the right, we aim for a 6 foot by 8 type corridor, which is we keep it 6 feet wide and 8 feet tall. So that way everyone walking through doesn't get, they're not having to go through branches hitting them, and they have a nice wide path, and it's not, that way it's easy to just follow the trail and not to get lost and to make it a nice, easy, fun, know where you're going type trip. So our main tools that we use are pretty basic. We have the handsaw on the left there. We have, simple long clippers in the middle and a pole saw on the right. And these tools are very vital to us because without them, we couldn't do a lot of the work that goes on. So pole saws are good for getting branches that are up high, that might, because we have a lot of branches that will overhang into a trail and be in the way and people have to duck under them. So we take the pole saw and cut those off. A lot of the clippers, we go ahead and cut stuff in the ground, and handsaw, pretty basic, we just use cut branches. So this is a prime example of what you want a trail to look like, just nice, clear, wide, and open, and you can't really get lost. So, and this is what we shoot and aim for on the trail for this. Next one we have here is Rockwork, and this is personally my favorite because it's just a really cool experience to be able to do. So essentially what it's for is, I'm sure a lot of you know, when you're going hiking through Baxter State Park, there's a lot of swampy areas, there's a lot of muddy spots from the rain, from all the slush, and it's not very pleasant to step in that stuff. You don't want to get your feet wet, you don't want to get your shoes all muddy. So what we do is we put in these stepping stones to the trail for people to step on and keep their feet dry and just make it a nice experience when you're hiking. So these pictures here are taken on the Hunt Trail and the Marching Trail, some pretty highly populated areas that a lot of people like to travel. So we got to keep these in pristine condition. So basically, when we're putting stepping stones in, we go off trail, several feet off trail where people can't really see us, and we look for rocks. We go rock hunting, and an ideal rock is probably, not really a rock, it's a boulder. You know, we got to look for basically, you know, 3 foot by 3 foot massive boulders. And we dig them out of the ground with these tools here. We use rock bars, pickmatics, and cutter-matics. So we use the picks to kind of dig around the rocks, you know, kind of really look and see if we're able to get out and if we can deal with, because all these rocks are very heavy. You know, they could be anywhere from 50 to even, you know, 300 pounds, depending on the size of the rock and how deep it goes into the ground. So we dig around the rock, and then we take rock bars, we shove them down in the ground underneath them, and just use leverage and try and pry them up out of the ground as a team. We all work as a team in this. We probably have about 2, 3, even 4 people with rock bars on each side to just try and pry it up out of the ground. And we'll roll it out of the hole, and then we'll bring it to the trail. And what we'll do is in the swampy area, we'll just dig out a little hole and just pretty basic. We'll just drop the rock in the hole and create a little pathway right through where the mud used to be, and sink them in. And then we make what's called crush. We fill in the hole, pretty basic stuff. And then over time, it'll get rock solid and just form, and it will probably stay there forever. So it's a very cool, fun experience, and it definitely makes it more enjoyable as a hiker to not get your feet wet. And it also is good for the ground, because over time, when we do rock work, we don't just always put in the stepping stones. We also kind of drain out where the mud and water flow used to be. So over time, the mud actually will go away sometimes and turn into hard ground, like you see here on the left. In the hunt trail, it doesn't even look like you need stepping stones there anymore, but at one time they did. So and it's just good to have them there for any reason. As you look here, there's more examples of stepping stones, you know, on the Martian Trail and the Rockwork Trail. And basically, any trail in the park, you might find a few stepping stones. This is a picture from my first year in the crew on the Blueberry Ledges Trail, and this is a good example of stepping stones that we did. You know, it's a very swampy area, and we were able to put in these massive stones. And this is a group picture, so this is a very fun time putting in these stepping stones. That's what we've got on stepping stones. Now we'll move on to bridging. Now this is also something very fun as well. You can find this basically on any trail in Baxter State Park as well, and it makes life really easy when you can't put in stepping stones. This makes it a lot easier because it's not as heavy and not as backbreaking to have to roll stones to the trail. We just bring in these wood here and make bridges. So pretty simple stuff. The same thing with bridging, the same use and purpose as if it's a swampy area or if it's a spot where you really can't get over. We'll build a bog bridge to keep your feet wet, and that way you can get up off the ground, off the trail. You don't have to go on that nasty stuff. And there's different types. Sometimes it's over a boggy, swampy area, but we also use them for, on the left here in this picture, over drop-offs. You know, you might not want to have to go down and up and make it hard to put a little bridge over that. And then, of course, you have big streams where you need bigger bridges than just a bog bridge. So we built a normal bridge over it. This one here is on Katahdin stream on the hunt trail, and that one was just built recently here this year. Bog bridging is something that we need crucially in the park, and it's non-stop being built, and there's a lot of places that still need it that don't have it. Like as you see here, this is on the Double Top Mountain Trail. They haven't been able to put bridging into it. They basically did the trouble for it now. Just a 2x4 across the stream, across the depot, and it's not very safe, and it's not very easy to get across. So definitely should get in there and build a bridge. But here's some more good examples of what happens over time. You have to replace these a lot, because when you put, a lot of people way back in the day built them pretty low to the ground. So over time, the ground grows over them. As you see here in the left picture, it's basically in the ground. All these shrubs and ferns are growing up over it, and it's not really doing its purpose anymore. On the right side, it's getting to that point as well. So what we do is we try and build them up off the ground, about probably maybe half a foot off the ground, so that way the ground doesn't build them right back up and rot them away. So the biggest part of keeping these things off the ground is called cribbing. We have two main logs that we use when we build bog bridges. You have our rounder ones that we use for cribbing, and then we have our long plank which you walk on. And what what many people don't know is that these cribbing logs actually can go down into the ground very deep, you know, anywhere from 2 to maybe even 6 feet deep in the ground to keep them sturdy so they don't shift, and that way they don't sink back down to the ground. As you can see in the left picture, in the mud, you can see it's mostly hidden underground. There's a lot of it to keep it up. There's a lot more that goes to it. And we just kind of stack them in a formation, keep them all the way up off the ground. And that way they'll last years and years and years. And that's some of the work that we did last year on the Kidney Pond Trail. As you see on the picture on the right, you know, there's at least probably 6 stacks worth of cribbing to keep it up above out of the ground. So it's very important to do that, or else it'll just rot right back to where it was before. So, here's some more pictures of Gar Bridging throughout the park, going through some pretty swampy areas, and good examples of what happens to them over time. You know, they can, like I said, they can start to just rot away and get pretty bad, rough shapes. So you build them right the first time, they'll last a really good amount of time, but you can't always prevent stuff like this happening. It's a very hard process, and there's a lot of tricky spots that you got to build in. So this is one of our biggest projects that we did. This was last year, like I said, on the Kidney Pond Trail. We replaced over 28 Bog Bridges in a row on a section of trail here through a very muddy area, and it's probably one of our best projects that we've done. We spent 2 weeks on it, and I visited this place several times over the course of this year, and they're holding up great. They're a really good spot, very good work. So I recommend everybody go check those out and check out some of the work we did. So here's a picture of our crew from last year on those Gar Bridges. But like I said, you can see they're up off the ground and nice, and good quality work. And like I said, building bridges out in the outdoors, I mean, it's fun. I really have a good time with this crew, and working outdoors is something very fun. And anyone our age who's in high school that wants a good job, I recommend it to anybody. So that's just a little bit of what we do. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope you guys can come and check out some of the work we did in the park. And I'm glad everyone's here. And like I said, thank you very much again. Any questions?
Thanks so much, Mike. Great job. I think you have some questions already. Ellen, why don't you go ahead?
Hey, Mike, I checked out those bridges on Saturday, and I really appreciated them going up, the Chimney Pond bridges, but I even liked them more going down. So great job and great presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Mike? Al.
Yeah, where are those, more precisely, those bridges on the Chimney Pond, the Roaring Brook Trail up to Chimney Pond?
Oh, those ones I showed are on the Kidney Pond Trail. Yes, there are some on the Chimney Pond Trail, but those ones that I just showed are on the Kidney Pond Trail, which is...
Oh, the Kidney Pond Trail.
Yeah, Kidney. Yeah, sorry for the, I know that sounds pretty choppy in there. Yeah, Kidney Pond. So it's actually, it runs through what's called the Sentinel Mountain Trail. It's like a connector trail. And it's basically just a loop that goes around the Kidney Pond, and they're right in the corner of that pond.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sylvia.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. Wow, Aaron accidentally remuted me. How many years you've done the Trail Crew program?
What was that?
How many years?
Yeah.
How many years?
Yeah.
How many years have I hiked, or how many years have I done the program, or what?
I'm sorry. How many years have you done the Trail Crew, like in BYCC?
This is my 3rd year, so I've done it for 3 years now. So I did my first year I worked in the North Crew and the South Crew. So I've had plenty of experience so far too.
Cool.
Mike? Yeah, Barbara.
Oh, you said Mike first. My question, because of COVID this year, so I take it the cruise couldn't happen. So was there no trail maintenance this year?
No trail maintenance this year. Yep. The park suspended its entire volunteer program this year. There are no volunteers in the park. There is a pro AMC crew in the park that has been functioning as a household unit and has been living together. They're even living together on their days off. And they were all, I believe they were all tested, and they're the only trail crew that I know of that's working in the park this summer. And because it's residential and they're there overnight, our program is a day program. Everyone goes home in the evenings and couldn't really operate in that same way. So yeah, it's the park is rapidly accumulating a backlog of trail work this year.
That explains. I went up North Brother last week, and that explains the trail. It was pretty wet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
We could have used you, Michael.
All right, my question. Oh, Anne, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Mike, if you had any idea how many years bog bridges last. I know they can get kind of like slippery and rotten. I don't know if that just has to do with the weather or if there's an approximate like lifespan on those.
Yeah, I was going to say that I remember talking to a trail specialist last year during the program. He said that when they're built properly, they can last anywhere from 10 to, honestly, he said 30 years. But that's, I don't know about that because we go through some pretty harsh winters. So my guess is they probably, before they start getting in pretty rough shape, I said maybe probably 8 to 10 years is when they really reach their full lifespan.
Okay, thanks.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about your hiking goal and adventure this summer? And that was a component of your work too, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So I am a massive hiking enthusiast. I love to go on mountains, and so at the beginning of this year, I was pretty close to completing all the mountain hikes in the park, and so over the course of these past 6 weeks, I've done over 11 mountain hikes in Baxter State Park, and I've now completed every mountain in the park. So it's a pretty cool goal. I love every single one of them, and I definitely say top 3 that everyone, if you can, should go check out. I definitely check out the South Brother Mountain Loop. I check out the Traveler Loop, and I check out Double Top Mountain because those are very beautiful spots. And it's just, to me, there's no other spot in the world that can really show beauty more than Baxter State Park. So very awesome to complete that task.
Mike, do you recall the North Brother Trail, and what would be the solution up there where you're basically climbing through a stream?
Yeah, really what they try to do is when they first built those trails and tried to route them, they tried to follow the streams. That way it was an easier route to get up to the top. There's a lot of rock slides happen up on those things. There's a lot of rocky areas. So the solution that they try and have us do is to go a little places to go on the bank of it above where the stream is. But over time, that just goes right back into a forest area, and then you get stuck right back into the stream. So I don't really have a big solution for it. It has to take a lot of time to get the trail out of that stream. It is a very tough spot to hike. It definitely isn't very pleasant, but I mean, it takes a lot of work to really get back to conditions. I really have to talk to a trail specialist to be able to figure out that full solution.
Thanks.
Yeah, knowing when it's so bad that, when it can be fixed or when it's just a reroute. The park inherited a ton of those fall line trails that were just the shortest way up the mountain that just turn into streams, or were streams to begin with, or turn into streams. It's a tough one for sure. Yeah, Anne, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had another one. I think you mentioned crush briefly, but I thought it might be cool to talk about what you do when a stepping stone won't evenly or moved, and what you have to do to get it to really settle in there.
Yeah, so a lot of times we run into that problem to where the stepping stone wouldn't fit very well where we wanted it into the trail, and so there'd be other rocks in the way that we'd have to get out. So it can be a real painstaking time-taking process, and basically what it is, we have to do numerous types of digs with our Techmatics to try and make the rock fit. Sometimes the rock just that we have doesn't fit, so we have to go roll it back into the trail and find a different one. So it's not always cut and dry easy, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of digging to get those stepping stones to fit and to sit properly on the trail. So.
Thanks, Mike. John, you have your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me, Mike?
Yes, I can.
Great. Hey, I'm curious whether Fort Mountain was on your list, and if so, what you found there and how you liked the way up, whatever way you chose.
Yeah, Fort Mountain was definitely on my list. Me and my hiking buddy Jake Walski, who's also on this call, had went up the North Brother Mountain Way, and it was definitely probably the most ingrown trail I've been on. It was definitely a bushwhack. It was pretty difficult to get across. First, we couldn't even find trail first, and then with little tiny ribbons on trees of where you could go across to. It was definitely pretty treacherous and pretty spectacular. It is. We never found the plane crash. Couldn't find any of that stuff for some reason. It was out of our reach. So going home, but it was definitely nice to be able to find where to go, because a lot of people have tried and haven't made it. So I'm definitely looking at going back again to try and find the plane, because there's a certain route that another buddy told me to go that I didn't look at. So, but yeah, definitely, if you know what you're doing, it's definitely a cool place to go and visit. So.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Sylvia?
So I worked on the trail crew last year, and I know my favorite tool is the squiz, but I'm wondering what your favorite tool was, and also like if you like the rock work better or the trail work better.
Okay, so yeah, definitely, I've done a lot of work with the swivel stick, and yeah, yeah, I definitely say that's probably my least favorite one. My favorite tool would probably have to be, honestly, the pole saw, just because, you know, I'm 6'5", so I'm already tall as it is, so I just like going to the top of the trees and cutting stuff off. I just have a fun time with the pole saw. Honestly, I think my favorite type of work is rock work, just because, you know, you're primarily in one spot and you're just looking around for go rock hunting. So corridor can be fun, but when you have a really rainy day, which we've had quite a few, it can really be unpleasant getting all soaking wet and having to walk through the trees and just cut down stuff and just get all, you know, it's not very pleasant. So I definitely say Rockwork's my favorite. So.
Yeah, Rockwork was definitely my favorite too.
That's tough.
Nice. Thanks, Mike. Any other questions for Mike?
I have one.
All right, hi, Barb.
So I'm glad Double Top made your list. I was up there on Saturday, and there was a couple from Puerto Rico escaping COVID-19, and they were having they loved the view. So I recommended North Traveler to them for their next one. What do you plan? Do you have plans for the fall? And is trail work in your future?
Yeah, so I'm going to be a senior this year at my high school, so I'll have one more year of eligibility on the trail cruise, and I'm definitely looking at coming back, and hopefully, you know, COVID will be a thing of the past by then, so we can get back out in the trails and do work. So it's definitely on my list. And yeah, Double Top is definitely an amazing view. And as of the fall, I'm actually looking at doing 2 Katahdin hikes. I'm going to go do the Cathedral Knife Edge loop, and then I'm also going to go do the Saddle Trail over to Hamlin Peak and down the Hamlin Ridge Trail loop. So I'm looking at doing that in the fall, so it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Check out the foliage there. So yeah, and yeah, I definitely find lots of diverse nationalities on the hiking trails. I've met people from France, I've met people from Italy, I've met people from Spain. There's just people all over the world that I never thought would come to the park. So it's cool to see that we're on the map. So
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mike. Any other questions? All right. Great job, Mike. Thank you so much.